Welcome to the Darkstream, Voxday, voxday.blogspot.com. And tonight we're going to talk about the top 5 lies told by Ben Shapiro. And I have to warn, first of all, welcome to the Reprehensibles, welcome to the Bears, welcome to the Unauthorized, welcome to the VFM, and to the Dread Ilk, of course. Anyhow, this is probably not a evening that you really want to pick to be difficult. I'm not in a particularly good mood at the moment because I think I may have injured myself, and I'm probably going to miss like a third to a half the soccer season with a stupid and totally unnecessary knee injury. So anyhow, nothing too serious. I'm not in any pain or anything. It's just, it looks like a minor knee tear that doesn't need surgery or anything, but it's just really irksome. I mean, I worked really hard to get in really good condition this year, and I was really looking forward to seeing how that was going to play out. And so anyhow, that kind of sucks. It's not a big deal, not that big a deal, but it's it's just irksome. So anyhow, Ben Shapiro's top 5 lies. Let's start from the bottom. Number 5. What's number 5? Number 5 actually is something that I am responding to Ben Shapiro. He said in a recent video, which was broadcast all over the place, including in Great Britain, and that's key. He claimed that I am a outspoken white supremacist. Now that's not true, and in fact, in an interview with Bleeding Cool, which is a very SJW comic site, they too made reference to me as a white supremacist, and I emailed them and said, you need to retract this, you need to recant this, and remove it. They immediately removed it, and they actually did a very extensive interview with me as a result, because, and the reason was that one of the editors did not want to believe that I wasn't a white supremacist, and so he insisted on digging into my background and digging into everything and doing an interview with me to try to prove it. And he, ended up retracting it because he learned very clearly it wasn't the case. And in fact, we actually discussed it in the interview that he did. This was an interview in last October. And Bleeding Cool said, "Some people have described you as a white supremacist or a white nationalist, probably in large measure because your Wikipedia entry contains a section on white supremacy, which starts with the sentence, 'Day has been supportive of the white supremacist 14-word slogan, promoting it in his 16 points of the alt-right, which place the sentence, we must secure the existence of white people and a future for white children as the 14th point.'" Well, who doesn't believe that it's important to secure the existence of white people and a future for white children? Only people who want to eliminate them and destroy them. Like, for example, the African National Congress, which has adopted the song "Kill the Boer" as one of its anthems. Bleeding Cool goes on, "But you don't think of yourself as a white nationalist. You said, first, while I support white nationalism and see it as a necessary aspect of preserving Western civilization, I am neither a white nationalist nor am I entirely white. I am an American Indian, and I am a red reservationist who sees no reason to believe that whites deserve sovereign nations any less than we Indians do." And so then I responded, I said, the white supremacist accusation is utterly and absolutely false. Opposing the invasion of Europe by Africans and other non-Europeans is no more white supremacist than opposing the planned colonization of Africa by 100 million Chinese is black supremacist, or opposing the forced settlement of Russians in the Baltic states is Estonian supremacist. I not only reject the idea of racial supremacy, I reject racial imperialism, as well as supranational pan-racialism. As for white nationalism, I've concluded that it is a non-starter anyhow, except possibly in a potential post-USA state, for the same reason that pan-Arabism failed and the European Union is failing. Being a superset of nation, race is too broad a basis for a stable and sustainable society. Yeah, and that's my position. And the thing that's so ironic about Ben Shapiro's lies about me is that he is a racial supremacist. He literally writes about his belief that his race is chosen by God to rule over all the other nations of the world and set them an example, that they are the moral exemplaries and that they are literally superior. And so, what you often see with these liars is you often see that they are projecting their own dishonesty. And now I'm going to be doing a complete review of The Right Side of History, which is Ben Shapiro's recent book. But what was really interesting is the way that he just comes flat out and writes these things in his book. You don't need to take my word for it. You can look this stuff up. And so it's really remarkable that he would accuse anybody of that sort of thing when he is willing to make these claims, these race-based claims. So anyhow, he talks about... somebody's playing guitar. I may have to tell him to make sure he's got that hooked up in there. Anyhow, so that's lie number 1. Let's talk about lie number 2. Actually, we're going backwards, so this would be lie number 4. And this is a big one. This is the idea that Western civilization is not European. Ben Shapiro actually claims that Western civilization is nothing more than the combination of the Greek philosophical tradition with Judaism. That's what he claims Western civilization is. It's not true. It's absolutely false. And he even claims that we did. He even claims that the alt-right has a racist redefinition of Western civilization. That is total nonsense. All you need to do is look it up. Western civilization. Why is it called West? Because of where... Listen to this. Western culture, sometimes equated with Western civilization, Western lifestyle, or European civilization. Western civilization is a synonym for European civilization. Another synonym for Western culture is Occidental culture. Wikipedia itself says, Western civilization traces its roots back to Europe and the Mediterranean, is linked to the Roman Empire and with medieval Western Christendom, which emerged from the Middle Ages. The civilizations of classical Greek and ancient Rome are considered seminal periods in Western history. A few cultural contributions also emerged from the pagan peoples of pre-Christian Europe, such as the Celts and Germans. And then they've added this stuff now, as well as some significant religious contributions derived from Judaism and Hellenistic Judaism, stemming back to Second Temple Judea. In other words, Christianity has nothing to do with Judaism. Nothing at all. And so Shapiro is lying about what Western civilization is. He's just written an entire book, an entire polemic that is based on the lie that Western civilization doesn't have anything to do with Europe or the European nations. No, Jordan Almanzar, it's not the Catholic Church. You're banned. You don't say, oh, you contradicted Look, I already warned you guys that I'm not in a particularly good mood tonight, so any of your gamma nonsense, I'm just going to ban you instantly, okay? So if you're gamma, I strongly suggest that you shut the hell up and not even think of trying to correct me in any way, shape, or form, because it will be a pleasure to ban you permanently from this channel. Okay? Don't want you here. Don't want gammas. Don't want your, actually. Okay? Is it clear? So anyhow, that was lie number 4, that Western civilization doesn't have anything to do with Europe or the European nations. Now, his third biggest lie is to equate Jerusalem with Judaism and to equate the religion of the Israelis with Judaism. It is totally false to describe the historical Old Testament religion of the Israeli nation as Judaism. Judah was one of the 12 tribes. And so what he's actually referring to here is a metaphor that was created by the Christian theologian Tertullian. And what's interesting about it is that the reason we can say that Ben is lying, the reason we can confirm that he's lying, that he is not simply wrong, is because he actually quotes early Christian thinker Tertullian. So listen to this. First of all, this statement is an exaggeration. In making faith paramount, however, Christianity demoted the role of Greek reason in the life of human beings. Not true. Despite Christianity's vision of God as the Logos, the logic lying behind all of the universe, Christianity conflated that Logos with the person of Jesus. That doesn't even make sense. Despite Christianity's version of God as Logos, Christianity also did. Anyhow, the great early Christian thinker Tertullian, 155 to 240, summed up the idea well. What has Jerusalem to do with Athens, the church with the academy, the Christian with the heretic? After Jesus, we have no need of speculation. After the gospel, no need of research. Okay, so what does Jerusalem mean there? The way that Leo Strauss, who I believe heavily influenced Shapiro's thinking here, Strauss changed the metaphor so that Jerusalem just meant faith and Athens just meant reason. But that can't possibly be correct here. What has Jerusalem to do with Athens? Okay, he's talking about faith and reason, but he then says the church with the academy, the Christian with the heretic. He is talking specifically about Orthodox Christian faith. Jerusalem means Orthodox Christian faith. It doesn't mean faith in general, and it really doesn't mean what Shapiro claims that it means, which is Judaism. What Shapiro is trying to do here is he is trying to redefine an old metaphor in order to redefine Western civilization and then write Judaism into it. So totally false. Then the third, so that's the third big lie. The second big lie, and this is downright amusing. I mean, I couldn't believe that he wrote this. I have to find something here. Okay, this is hilarious. His second big lie is that that Judaism fought the notion of human inequality. This is really funny. Judaism fought the notion of human inequality before God tooth and nail. We are all created equal in our endowment with a certain level of free will. Perhaps the most important sentence ever penned was this from Genesis. God created man in his image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. No longer was divine choice restricted to great leaders. Okay. How was divine choice restricted to great leaders if this was written when man was created? Just ridiculous. In fact, God mocks such pretensions in Genesis 6:2 when he decides to flood the earth after the sons of the gods, the rulers. No, the sons of the gods are not the rulers. The sons of the gods are the Nephilim. They are the offspring of fallen angels and humans. Blah, blah, blah. Instead of a ruling caste with the power of free will, now all human beings were granted the value of choice. This is, so it's all going, because we choose, we are God's partners in creation. And so he's actually trying to say, see, he tries to hide it because he says, Judaism fought the notion of human inequality before God. But notice that he's conflating Judaism, again, with the Israelite religion. But then he goes on to talk about how the Jews are God's chosen people and are superior to everyone else and are the moral exemplaries of man. So Judaism fought the notion of human inequality. What a freaking liar. It's unbelievable. And the thing is that the Bible itself talks about how God hated Esau. He talks about how God hates the wicked. I mean, this incompetent interpretation of the Old Testament. And everything that he's doing is designed to try to sell you on the idea that Judaism is the correct moral and ethical basis for all politics and decision making. It's total nonsense. Now, the Ben Shapiro's number one biggest lie. Just a sec, I have to ban this person. Let's see here. Okay, and the number one biggest lie told by Ben Shapiro is the idea that Judeo-Christian values are the basis for Western civilization and for the American founding. I mean, he mentions Judeo-Christian values 70 times in this book. Let me see here. The twin ideals of Judeo-Christian values and Greek natural law reasoning built human rights. No, first of all, there are no Judeo-Christian values. There is no such thing. Judaic values and Christian values are fundamentally incompatible. Fundamentally incompatible. And the idea that Judaism, which advocates and celebrates genocide, every single Jewish holiday except one, if I recall correctly, celebrates mass murder. Look it up. And it is astonishing that he would claim that Judeo-Christian values or Judaic values built human rights. Yeah, no doubt that's why Israel is a paragon of human rights, right? I mean, I support the existence of Israel, but I don't believe that it is considered to be a paragon of human rights. If you look at which countries are the most frequently condemned by human rights organizations, I suspect that they're going to be in at least the top 20 around the world. This is just, it's amazing to me that you see this. We are in the process of abandoning Judeo-Christian values and Greek natural law. He's talking about the universities. Who's leading that? And how can you abandon values that don't exist? They absolutely don't exist. To strengthen our civilization, then, we must examine how the bridge was built and then lie about it? It took Western civilization 3,000 years to get here. 3,000 years. So 1,000 years before Christ, and Western civilization was there? I don't think so. His history is bad, too. It's the number one lie, I repeat, is the idea that Judeo-Christian values exist at all. They don't exist. They're not the foundation for Western civilization. They're not the foundation for the founding of the United States of America. Totally false. So those are Ben Shapiro's 5 biggest lies that we have discovered yet. I have no doubt that there will be more that will be uncovered. There's actually a lot more that I can point out, and I will point out in the review of The Right Side of History, which I will be doing on the unauthorized. It's going to be premium content, so if you want to see it, I would definitely encourage you to subscribe to the unauthorized. Speaking of that, I should announce that we just published a new little book today, and very pleased to be able to announce it. It's not available on Amazon yet, but it is available at Arkhaven Comics, and it is available for $2.99, and you get both the EPUB and the Kindle format. But it is the new book from Mr. Milo Yiannopoulos, and it is entitled How to Be Poor. And it's very funny. It's essentially Milo's mea culpa, explaining how things went wrong, why things went wrong, how completely insane he was dealing with his fame and success, and some of the lessons that he has learned since then. It's a very short book. It's about 85 pages or so, and it's you kind of have to read it to believe it, because it's Milo after all. Anyhow, if you're interested, check it out. And we have another book that will be coming out from him soon as well. And so, oh yeah, Milo addresses directly his debt situation and so forth. It's going to be more helpful to the average person who doesn't really get money. It will be more helpful than all of Jordan Peterson's books and videos combined. And so I'll put the link below the video when it's done. Henry, I'm Milo's friend. Why would you ask me Milo writes about how lavishly he lived. He writes about how utterly stupid he was. And so, if you've read Milo, if you know Milo at all, you know that he doesn't hold back. And he's not holding back in this book either. Anyhow, it's not something that I would recommend for everyone, because Milo is frank about his approach to life. The book is $2.99. Yeah, you're banned. You're banned. Anyone who wants to bring up the fact that Milo is gay, as if I don't know that, and anyone who wants to try to play the Pharisee is going to get banned from this channel. Okay. No updates for the UK bookstore, unfortunately. The book is online now. You can get it at Archaven Comics now. Let me just grab the link for you real quick. It is available right now. I don't know. Amazon has had it sitting there in review for some time now. So I don't know whether they're going to properly, carry it or not. We'll just have to wait and see. So I'm looking for the link here. Okay, there we go. All right, here is the link if you want to pick up a copy. Let's see. John Anderson, I'm scared to say anything because I don't want to get banned. Well, that's probably good. That's probably good. If you want to ask a question, go ahead and ask a question. I have no objections to questions. But when you're going to try to pull any sort of gotcha question on me, when you're going to try to ask, how do you reconcile X and Y? I'm just going to ban you flat out. See right here. I'm going to ban this. Milo did this. Doesn't this go? I don't give a fuck about your honest questions. Anytime you say honest question, here's the thing. If you say honest question, you're banned. At what point have I ever said, you know what? It's okay for you to ask questions as long as it's honest. Let me be very specific. I don't give a flying rodent's posterior whether your questions are honest or not. I am not interested in you trying to ask, well, aren't you really a hypocrite? Aren't you really wrong somehow? I am smarter than you are. I know what you're trying to do. I know that you're trying to disqualify, you're trying to discredit, and that's why you're banned. You're not trying to understand anything. It's just, it's not about being right. It's about the fact that you are trying to discredit. It's about the fact that you are trying to disqualify. It's about the fact that you are most likely a gamma male who exists to tear things down. That's what you do. And so the moment that I see that that is the way that you think, I want to eradicate you from this discourse because you will not add anything to it. And so, I don't understand why you think that I'm not going to notice what you're doing. I don't understand. Yeah, Noodle Bear points this out. Passive aggressive people think they're so sly. I don't get why they think no one's going to notice it. And if I say honest question, then maybe they really won't notice it. So anyhow, it's pretty simple. If you don't know much about me, all you really need to know to predict some elements of my behavior. Let's see. Yeah, we'll ban this guy too. I'm sorry, but Milo did that. Oh, you're gone. I will always defend my friends. I will always stand by my friends. Do I agree with everything they do? No. But you know what I do? I criticize in private. I talk to them in private. Oh, Matt Walsh is a nasty little coward. He was going around on Twitter in 2016 saying, I want to challenge a Trump supporter to a debate. I said, okay, fine, Matt, let's debate. And he ran away from me even faster than Ben Shapiro or PZ Myers ever managed. The guy's a total fraud, total coward. So, yeah, I'd love to do a stream on my thoughts on the Nephilim someday. Let's see here. Somebody said, where can you get the book? You can get the book there. Yeah, so anyhow, look, I'm willing to address all kinds of reasonable questions. But when don't think that you are going to fool me into not noticing that your question is designed to be a gotcha trap, a illustration of hypocrisy, something that allows you to establish a superior position or allows you to set yourself up as some kind of judge of my thinking or my behavior. I will not accept any of those things. If you do that sort of thing, I'm going to get rid of you immediately. It's not because I can't defend my thoughts. It's not because I can't argue effectively with you. It's that I know engaging with you is a complete waste of time. I've done this for 16 years on the blog. Headbug says, your wiki page is rather aggressive towards the labels thrown around about you. Yeah, Wikipedia is not a big fan of mine. It also makes you seem interesting, in my opinion, especially the shenanigans you played dealing with the award stuff. Actually, that was just beautiful. I don't know if you noticed, but they just announced the new Hugo Awards, and we've demolished them so completely that nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody notices, and it's all women. There's not a single... There hasn't been a single man up for one of the best novel major awards for something like 3 years now. We've completely pushed them into a ghetto. Vox, any plans to add tactical-based hunting for survival-type content to unauthorized TV? I wouldn't say that we've got a plan for it, but I think that that's something that we'd like to see, yes. It's about 85 pages. Meister Bear says, praying for you to hit 30,000 subs to clean up the chat. I don't know that we will actually go. I don't think that we will go to memberships here. I don't think that we necessarily want to do that. We'll see. I haven't decided. We've got 5,000 to go, so we've got a little time before we have to worry about that. Let's see. That was impressive dark lording at the Hugos. Yeah, that was pretty amusing. People tend to forget that I'm a game designer. So you throw some rules at me, I'll figure out a way to beat it. Tyler says, I'm not ready to write Ben off completely. Tyler, you really should. You absolutely should. But I've been noticing some cracks in his armor, so to speak. You're going to write him off completely if you are honest yourself. Vox, who is the greatest Arsenal player in my opinion? I don't know about the greatest, but my favorite was Dennis Bergkamp. Not even close. Any chance of children's content coming to unauthorized? Yeah, if we can find good creators. No question. Roy Bear, all these conservative online personalities at odds with each other, blah. It's because most of them are fake. They're literally media whores. Most of them are liars. Most of them will change their opinions if they get a backer who will pay them differently to say so. Yeah, I've read Carol Quigley in Tragedy and Hope. Just subscribed to Unauthorized. Thanks. Thank you for subscribing. Delighted to hear it. Where can I read up on the rabid puppies? Just go to my blog and do a search for rabid puppies. Would you consider an occasional sermon by a doctrinally sound priest? I don't think we would get into that. Can you have a Europa Universalis theme stream while talking about history? I don't think I'm going to do that. I've heard good things about Brother Nathaniel. I don't really know much about him, to be honest. Can you explain why you like soccer? Yeah, it's a great competitive sport. Tremendous skill, constant action. It's not as good it's far less intellectual than football. NFL football is incredibly cerebral and incredibly difficult. That's why it will never be popular around the world. I mean, in fact, most American football fans don't actually understand football at all. They just like the sort of kinetic cartoon violence aspect of it. But the chess match aspect of football is actually the much more interesting part. And, that's what I like about it. I've read part of 200 Years Together. I haven't read the whole thing. I had spaghetti for dinner tonight with meatballs. Oh, don't get technical, Dennis. We're talking to a mostly American crowd. We say soccer. I usually call it calcio, to be honest. Although I had a French friend who was really funny because he was he would always say, "C'est foot." It's soccer, what do you do? So, let's see, language courses, videos. No, we're not going to do language courses. There's tons of language stuff out there. I should probably do the super chats here. Let me get to that. Okay. Larry Enticer has a picture of Sam Hyde and throws in $1. John D says, my half-brother looks exactly like Ben Shapiro, except he is taller. Should I trust him? Well, they do say physiognomy, or however you pronounce that, is real. So I'd keep an eye on him. Hammer Bear says, is it a gamma attribute that I love watching you ban gammas? You're probably a delta. Deltas enjoy watching people beat up on gammas. Ein Crew says, according to mainstream Judeo-Christian theology, a man named Vox Day will emerge to become the anti-Judeo Christ. Okay, that was funny because I didn't realize until I actually read the name. I was like, Vox Day. Yeah, it's like, what sort of name is? Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, very funny. Very ha. Jesse Miller. JBP and Ben are polar opposites. Ben is a warmonger and JBP a coward and intellectual charlatan. Is the reason they choose to align with one another because they're both subverters of truth? It's partly that, but it's also because they're both opposed to Christianity and nationalism. And so, they're opposed to it for different reasons and they have different objectives, but they are both enemies of the truth. They're both enemies of Christianity, and they're both enemies of the European nations. Lucius Quinctius Cincinnatus asks, is Shapiro going to sneak off to Israel when the civil unrest begins to develop in the U.S.? Almost certainly. Justin says, your chapter, The Crows, he's referring to my novel, A Throne of Bones, is light years better than any battle I've ever read, especially anything from Gamma Martin. Well, George Martin doesn't know how to write battles, so that's not surprising. Tolkien, a little bit more surprisingly, also didn't know how to write battles. The Crows is actually a ripoff, you could say, or an homage, as we prefer to say, to a chapter from Joe Abercrombie where he does something very similar. Of course, what Abercrombie is actually doing is he's actually ripping off a cinematic sequence from Kenneth Branagh in Henry V, and who probably got it from someone else. But I will say that even though I use the same literary technique that Joe Abercrombie did, the battle that it describes is much more realistic, much more historically credible than any of the stuff that Abercrombie writes about. So, the one thing that people do seem to recognize about my epic fantasy is that, I do know how to write battles, which is why there's a lot of them. I mean, I have 3 chapters in A Sea of Skulls from the extended edition that hasn't come out yet. And I actually worked out the entire battle around a river and a bridge that was in a small town that I saw. And it was one of those like medieval towns, and the medieval town, you could see the old walls, and they kind of come up to the river. And I started imagining what it looked like, before the modern era. And you could actually imagine it very clearly because where I was standing, there were no roads at all. I think there was a road behind me, but there were no roads that I could actually see. And so it was really easy to sort of envision how you would have to set up to fight it if you had archers and wizards and all that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of fun to write. I really enjoyed it. And hopefully you'll enjoy reading it when we get to that point. Random question. Thoughts on jewelry, tattoos, displaying belief, commitment to Christ? Thanks. Congrats to you and Milo. Onwards and upwards. I don't have any problem with jewelry. I would tend to stay away from the tattoos. I don't think tattoos are... tattoos are, in my opinion, discivilizational. So I would stick with the jewelry if you want to wear a cross or something. Christopher McCullough says metric or imperial units. I prefer imperial. I still think in imperial. Boingo Bear says, do you consider Steven Crowder a genuine conservative? I don't have an opinion. Other than a few skits, I've never seen anything that Steven Crowder's done. I know that Milo considers him to be a genuine conservative, one of the few people who's actually capable of reaching young people from a conservative perspective. But, again, I'm a book guy. I'm not a TV guy. And Quinn Buckley says, this free $2 is probably from Owen's stolen $50K. Well, at least we're profiting from his pain. That's the important thing. Have you ever heard of the author Colin Flaherty? Yes, of course. Hope you can put him on the list of those you're considering for creators on unauthorized TV. Yeah, I don't think that we want to have the chronicle of white people getting killed by black people every single day. That's just not really what, I salute what he's doing. I think it's probably important that he's doing it, but I don't think that would really make for must-see TV. I think it would make for really, really depressing stuff. JBP friend Jonathan Pagau read your book. Thoughts? I don't know who Jonathan Pagau is. I haven't read what he wrote, so I have no thoughts on the matter. If I get bored enough, perhaps I'll look it up. Most likely I won't. I'm kind of on to the next stuff, I'm not one of those writers who likes to really go back and wallow in the last thing that I wrote. I usually prefer to move on to my next stuff. So here's a question that I have, and this is not something I'm going to hold anybody to. This is just a informational question. And this is only for people who are not currently subscribed to the unauthorized. But would you be interested in subscribing to the unauthorized if Milo were to join it and we were to have a Milo-based subscription? So I'm just, we're thinking about honest question. We're looking at doing some stuff with him, and so it's I'm just curious to know whether people are moderately interested, heavily interested, not interested, etc., etc. So Now keep in mind, you're not just going to get access to whatever Milo does. You'll get access to all the premium content. That's how we do it. So. Okay. That's good. I'm just, yeah, I mean, there really are no, I mean, people say, well, what are the differences between the subscriptions? And the answers are just nothing. You know, everybody gets access to all the premium content. But what we use the different subscriptions for is to allow people to support the different creators specifically, to give them additional support. Let's see. Well, the Milo, I think that the Milo one, the Milo subscription would probably be a $10 a month one. You know, the $5 a month ones we set up at that because they're basically a substitute for a YouTube membership. That's what they are. Basic subscription gets access to all content. Yes. So, yeah, I'm not asking those who have already subscribed because, unfortunately, the system doesn't allow for multiple subscriptions. It might eventually. We've asked them, but Tupac, I just said you get all access to all content with all subscriptions. The subscriptions, the different subscriptions are about supporting that creator particularly. So that's why we have the different subscriptions. So for example, if you were to subscribe to Feed the Bear, then Owen is going to get more of that. If you were to subscribe to Good Gardening, then Owen is not going to get much of that. David is. They'll get the same amount that they would get if you were a member of their YouTube channel. So everything is, it's not about separating the content. We want all subscribers to have access to all the premium content. Save Western Civilization. I'm very sympathetic to his question. Why can't we redo what kind of subscription we have? I've tried multiple times. But it's not. There is no difference in the subscriptions. You get the same thing no matter what you subscribe to. It's a question of how much you want to support and who you want to support. So if you just want to support the channel as much as we'll let you, you can get a premium subscription for $25 a month. Maybe eventually we'll have more content that would be worth more that people want to see and so forth. But the main goal, remember, the main reason that we set this up was to allow for people like Owen to get support because YouTube demonetized them. That's why we set it up. That's how we got the whole thing rolling. And so it's about the creators. It's about it's about making sure that there is a way for them to keep doing what they're doing. And again, we're just getting started. We're going to have the first streams going direct there starting in May. I'm dubious about cryptocurrencies. I think they're too easy to control. Apparently there is a change plan button. So, Yeah, James Fox Higgins, he's pretty good. So, all right. Well, thanks for the insight and the input. I don't know yet what we're going to do. Um, we're just keep in mind the whole thing is not even 3 weeks old, so we're still. No, we'll always have the subscriptions. We want to have the subscriptions because it allows us to, you don't. I think we'd be more if we had to choose between subscriptions and super chats, we would just go with the subscriptions, because that way there's not this constant pressure. Will you still stream here in May? I will be. I don't know if Owen will be. I don't think he will be. You're not going to get Fireman. You're not going to get banned for derisive comments. Okay? I understand when people are joking, and when I make mistakes, people email me and I restore them. This has happened on several occasions. Well, you definitely won't be watching anymore, Mail Guy, because you're banned. So, anyhow, well, thanks for tuning in tonight. If you disagree with Owen on stream, are you banned? Oh yeah, Owen's banned me like 7 times already. I just use different names. Next time I'll use your name. How can we compartmentalize our offensive tactics to push out breeding families that are placed into governing jobs without showing our game plan? I don't know. I'm not sure I even followed the question. Would you please look at my super chat? Okay, that seems to be a reasonable question. Omega plus competency and confidence equals sigma. Only if you also throw in social success. Remember, the sigmas are usually confused with alphas. Maybe a spoiler question, but is Marcus going to come back to Amor having adapted new cavalry tactics? Maybe like Morris talked about adopting in Strategicon? I think I can safely say no. How about a spin-off with Owen Stream, This Old Ranch, teaching people basic home repair and remodeling and basic construction? That's a good idea. Oh, okay, I see it. Richard Rawl says, thoughts on Sword of Truth series and Terry Goodkind? Unreadable and didactic. I tried reading his stuff twice, hated it both times. Did not enjoy it at all. Would a roll of toilet paper be more useful than maps of meaning? Yes. So, all right. Well, thanks very much tonight thanks very much for tuning in tonight. Appreciate it. Check out How to Be Poor by Milo, and be sure to subscribe to unauthorized.tv if you haven't yet. And remember, as Tupac Sobieski says, don't forget that neocons are commies, kids. They are. They're followers of Leon Trotsky. He's absolutely correct. So have a good evening. This is the Darkstream. I'm Vox Day.